Hi, it's Sandy Wyllie. Welcome to my mental health channel, You Got This, where I wipe away the stigma of mental illness by talking about my own personal experiences as a former patient of almost 20 years having borderline personality disorder. I talk about narcissism, post-traumatic stress disorder. I talk about anxiety, panic attacks, depression, schizophrenia, and a plethora of other health-related illnesses. But I only come on as a former patient. I am not a licensed therapist. I do not hold a degree in psychology. And all I ask of you in return is to please be kind in the comments, be kind to other people who comment, please be kind to me. Just show some respect and kindness. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you like what you see, hit the like button right there. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button right there. It's free. So we're out in nature again because it's a beautiful day. And I wanted to talk about patient beware. And the whole reason for this video is because I've talked about other psychologists who have sexually abused me. And one of them was William Cates Jr. And the last time I looked up on LinkedIn at his profile, he was like a patient advocate. He was like a life coach. So he still wasn't practicing therapy. He still didn't hold a license. But today I looked him up on LinkedIn and it says he's a marriage counselor. So, and he's back working out of his home. So he must have got his license back. Now this is what I want to warn people about. If a therapist sexually abused a client like me, which he did, and I'm not going to talk about what he did because I talked about it in great graphic detail in other videos, so you can look those up. He surrendered his license so he wouldn't go to trial. Now, when a psychologist surrenders his license, that means he can't work, he can't practice for, I don't know, a few years. But here's the caveat here. He can reapply for his license after so many years. It might be 3, I'm not sure. I think it's around 3. I don't know the right number, so don't hold me on that. But he can reapply for his license, which William Cates did. And then he gets a license and practices therapy again, you know? And no one knows the better. No one knows what he did. No one knows that he surrendered his license and sexually abused me. You see? Because he reapplied for his license and now he's a practicing therapist out there in Marshfield. This happened to another psychologist too, Dr. Brad Bedar in Norwood. Someone brought him to the licensing board and filed a complaint, and it did go to trial. But they couldn't prove his guilt, so he got off. But what I'm trying to tell you, to warn you about, is these therapists can have, you know, in the past sexually abused patients, surrendered their license, or got their license suspended. If you got your license suspended, you can still reapply for a license after so much time has gone by. I don't know what else you have to do. You might have to take courses, you might have to be supervised, but just because a psychologist loses their license doesn't mean it's permanent. It doesn't mean that at all, okay? They can reapply and get reinstated with a new license, and then no one is the wiser, okay? So why it's so important for me to go on and bring these and name names, okay, is because people are not going to know How would anyone know who lives in Marshfield? They can look him up and it says, oh yeah, he has a license. But they didn't know that he surrendered his license because he sexually abused a patient, had to wait several years to get a new license. See, that doesn't show up on the record, you know. If they look him up, they'll say he's practicing and he has a current license. That's all they'll see. They'll not see what he did, how he severely sexually abused me. Now look that up. I mean, I have it. I think I put up the video as the top video on my channel. So if you go to my channel, it'll be the first video that you'll see, and I talk about William Cates Jr. I show you in my book, because I printed out in my book, because I got a form I got through the licensing board that he surrendered his license the day before the trial. He knew he was going to lose, so he surrendered. Because if you don't surrender and you go to trial, and it's worse for the board to find you guilty, and it's going to be much more costly for you. Because I looked up these things, and if he lost, which he would have, obviously, he would have had to pay the board for all their lawyers in time, because he's at fault. So he would have had to, pay it would have been a lot more money out of his pocket. And if he lost, it might have been much harder to get back his license, see? So it's easier for him to, surrender it and get it back after a few years. And if he was found guilty, that's much worse. It's much worse on his part. It would be much harder. I don't know if he could get his license back after that. And then it would be much more costly for him too, on top of that. The only way that people are going to know is really through word of mouth. That's why I come on very bravely, and name names. I tell you, Dr. Richard Geist did this. Dr. James Barberia did this. William Cates Jr. did this. Dr. Brad Bedar did this. Dr. Jeffrey Fortgang did this. I name the names, and I tell you specifically what they did to me, all right? They ruined my life and ruined my family. I was sexually assaulted by William Cates. I have a whole video about that. And, just look it up. I put it as a top video, so when you go under my channel, Sandra Lee Wyllie, you got this. It'll show that video about William Cates Jr. And just listen to it and watch it again, No one would know. If they looked him up on LinkedIn, they would think, oh, this guy, oh, he's a marriage and family counselor, He's practicing in Marshfield. Oh, he sounds wonderful. He has like over 35 years, 40 years. He has a lot. He's an old guy. He's not young. He has like 40 years experience. Wow, look at him. And if you live in the Marshfield area, you might think, oh, wow, he's great. He sexually assaulted me. So that's what I'm warning you about. You can look up a psychologist or a therapist, marriage counselor, anyone, psychiatrist, psychologist, social worker, whatever. And all you'll see is if they are practicing and have a current license, you will not know if what happened in the past, if their license was suspended, if they were found guilty in a trial, if they sexually assaulted someone. That won't be there currently. You see, when they reapply, all you'll see is the current status, that they currently have a current license and are practicing. That's all. You'll have no idea what they did. So how is anyone going to be protected from these predators? The only way for people, to find out is for people like me who've been sexually assaulted to get out there and name the names and spread the word, you know? I did a LinkedIn newsletter about him, and I posted this video because I think it's important, you know? I mean, wouldn't you want to know? If you were looking in for anything, a doctor, maybe you're looking for an internist or, you know, a primary care doctor, I don't know, and they sexually abuse someone, wouldn't you want to know that? You know? Even if you look them up and it doesn't say so, wouldn't you still want to know? I mean, I would want to know. I'd be so grateful for someone brave coming forward and saying, hey, you know what? This person is a predator. This person sexually abused me, even though it doesn't show it, you know, if I look it up now, because he renewed his license. You know, it's just like someone going to jail, but if you go to jail, you have a record. There's a way of looking that up. I don't know if the average person can look up. So, what about sexual predators out there, right? If they're not listed, how do you know your next door neighbor isn't a sexual predator? How do you know that kind of thing, right? Word of mouth. Word of mouth. So I'm coming on here to warn people about William Cates Jr. and spread the word, please. And if anyone has been through something like this, keeping quiet is not going to protect people. The only person that keeping quiet is going to protect is a sexual predator. William Cates Jr. or someone else like him. That's the only person you're protecting, the predator. So keep that in mind.